Hello, this is Marie from Divine Muses, and today I'm going to share with you the Divine Muses Oracle. I have some of the original artwork to share with you, as well as this set and how it will come to you. This is a project that I've been working on the last couple years, and it seeks to explore archetypes that are found in alchemy, magic, the Greek mythology using the muses, and it's meant to be just a way to practice further realization of our creativity and our inner truths. So we'll see the 53 cards today. I'll go through each card and I'll show you the guidebook. And the guidebook shows the 53 cards, meaning the what I call the essence of the archetype, because each card is essentially an archetype that we can explore. And I also include the reverse definition, which is I'm calling the shadow, which is appropriate working with archetypes. Every archetype has an upright or quote unquote light attribute or a shadow. So the archetypes some of the archetypes will be familiar, as you'll see. I'll go through them. And then there are others where I merge archetypes. For example, I have here's the artwork for the solar feminine and the lunar masculine. And it's just the idea of merging, what does the archetype look like when we merge masculine and feminine? So let's go ahead and just jump into it. So like I said, there are 53 cards, and I spoke about the different archetypes that are found in alchemy, and I have it kind of broken into a couple categories within the deck. So basically you'll see some of these merged archetypes that I talk about. You'll see the traditional archetypes that people are more familiar with, and then where I break it down, I have the muses. So I have 10 muse cards, and I included the 4 totem cards for magic, which represent the 4 suits of tarot. You'll be familiar with that. And then the alchemy, the alchemical procedure, that I choose animals in alchemy to represent each archetype in the process to self-realization. So those are the I just kind of break that down for you. And then I have also archetypes that we see in magical work and healing work. Anyway, I have the Ancestors card, and Astral Ascent, Boundaries, which is something we all need to work with, no matter the field, actually. So I go into the shadow and the light attributes of that. The Divine Messenger, Eternal Student, which is a merging of the student and teacher archetypes. I have the Great Mother, and I should say that there's the counterpart, because I have these in alphabetical order, and I have the counterpart, the Sky Father and the Great Mother archetype, the Green Goddess, which is it's basically in the nature archetype. Group Mind. This, like, the shadow of the group mind would be like the mob mentality. The upright archetype would talk about just the positive attributes of like coming together and the force that can happen when we come together and do something for the betterment of whatever the situation or movement might be. Keeper of Time. Kindred Spirits, Resonance. This speaks to relationships that resonate on a positive kind of harmonious quality, and the shadow would be dissonance or disresonance. Lionheart. There's that lunar masculine. Magical child is an archetype that people work with that is familiar. Mystic rapture. Perfect stranger. This archetype I actually pulled from the Ten of Pentacles in the tarot, and in the Smith-Waite tarot you'll see an older gentleman in kind of the foreground of the image, and he represents the unknown visitor. What Carl Jung, the psychologist, who's basically started psychoanalysis and coined archetype and the collective unconscious. He talks about the unknown visitor, and you see this in like Greek myths and in Judeo-Christian stories, and the idea of the perfect stranger is that he's the unknown visitor, but I name him the perfect stranger as a way to kind of see that sometimes people you don't know bring wisdom and bring experience from their travels. So this is like in the Ten of Pentacles, the elderly man who the children and the dogs are really interested in, but that the adults kind of ignore. But the magic that he brings is like intriguing to the animals and the children, and that he has gifts to offer those who welcome him. So the psychic portal, Queen of Roses, reflection, retreat, the sacred witch, sea priestess, shadow queen, sin eater, there's sky father, there's the solar feminine, spirit of home, true will, unknown, because some things are just meant to be unknown for the moment. And I appreciate getting a card like that, because sometimes we just want to know the answer to everything, and when this card comes up, it's just a sign. It's like, just wait, just hold on a moment. The wild man, and that's the archetype that Robert Bly, that people will be familiar with this, and the wild woman, Pincola Estes, those archetypes that are explored. World weaver and the wounded healer. So those are just kind of the archetypes that are throughout the deck, and I break them down. Again, the 4 totem cards, which you see in the 4 suits of the tarot. So the totem of water, and this is a mermaid that I use for the totem of water. And I have the sylphs or sylphides that we see in the tarot, the suit of swords and air. And salamander for the suit of fire. The totem of fire is the salamander. And then we see the gnomes. It's the totem of earth in this deck. And I also explore, since it is called the Divine Muses, I felt that I needed to include the Greek muses. So there are actually 9 Greek muses that represent the arts, but for some reason there isn't an actual muse for painting and drawing and that kind of thing from the Greek era. And I done some research, and it seems that it's probably because that kind of like painting and like painting on pots and such was considered kind of a lower caste type of art, and so there wasn't a muse represented because of that. But then I find that there was like famous people who made beautiful statues that I'm sure were revered at that time. So at any rate, I include the muse of art. And I use Frida as my muse to create the Muse of Art card. And a lot of like Frida's work, she brings in birds and animals and butterflies. And so I decided to use her as my Muse of Art. And then we've got Muse of Astrology, the Muse of Comedy, and I also have the Muse of Tragedy. Again, these are like in alphabetical order. So representing theater, comedic theater, we've got the Muse of Dance, Muse of Eloquence, which is also the Muse of Epic Poetry, Calliope. She's known as the Muse of Epic Poetry, but I use eloquence for just the modern day practitioner, because epic poetry, though it is still a form of art that people still practice, it's a little bit more, it's rare, it's more rare form. So I just wanted to kind of focus on eloquence and using words and vocabulary to express yourself. So that is what the Muse of Eloquence is meant to represent. We've got the Muse of History, which is represented by Cleo, who is a muse who is female, but I bring in masculine energy for that. Muse of Hymns, Muse of Divine Hymns, Polyhymnia. We have the Muse of Music, Muse of Poetry, who I use Emily Dickinson. And then there's the Muse of Tragedy. And then we have the alchemical process, which I mentioned represents, I use animals to represent each stage of the alchemical process. And there are different, there are various texts, alchemy texts, and ideas of how many steps there were, and so this is just my experience, my practice, and exploring the different archetypes and the animals that you see in alchemy. And this is me distilling it in a way that makes it accessible for reading, and as a way to focus on archetypes. Now, Carl Jung, he researched alchemy, and part of what he saw in alchemy was the individuation process, which is the work that he did to as the steps to self-realization. He saw that alchemy was not actually a procedural, like material process to turn lead into gold. He saw this as an inner process, as a way to find the inner self, the true self, our true nature, and hence he called that the individuation process. So that's basically what this is. It's just kind of a distillation of studying the modern kind of individuation, self-realization process, and connecting it to the animals. So the Raven King would represent the blackening phase. And we have albedo, or the whitening phase. I term it the lattice of the soul. And I choose to use bones because it is like this really that deeper part of us, this structure. Once you start on this process, this process of creating like a base, a foundation for like spiritual work. And usually it's represented by a bird, like a swan or an eagle. But I chose to use this and add like white wings, kind of spotlights, to kind of create kind of a bird energy there. But I really wanted to use bones, and I found this. And the deer is also an animal that we see in alchemy. And then the Cosmic Prince, representing peacock phase, which is the iridescent phase, the pattern of colors that we see on the process to individuation, which is basically, it's a meditation process that we see. This represents the citrinus, and sometimes citrinus is like connected to the last phase of rubedo. But here I create the card on its own, because there's a lot that happens in this, what is considered like an in-between phase. It's that merging of masculine and feminine parts of ourselves. and that realization, combining the energy to get the Philosopher's Stone. So we've got that symbol there. And this is the Red King and the White Queen, who are called the White Rose and the Red Rose. Rubedo is that arrival, that success. You've arrived. You've you know, you know the truth of yourself at this point. And so that, you know, the Citrinus and the Rubedo kind of go together. So that is ultima materia. It's the ultimate material, the goal, the realization. And I feel like the lion is a really good representation. So I call this totality and infinity. So those are the 53 cards for the Divine Muses Oracle. And I was going to show you some of these, the original artwork. I used mixed media collage. I love collecting and finding cabinet card imagery and photographs, and I like to use, when I can, pressed leaves. So there's Magical Child, Kindred Spirit, Wounded Healer, Muse of Tragedy, Muse of Hymns, Muse of Dance, and Muse of Art. So that's just a quick look through that. So the cards all come in this padded zipper case. I really appreciate and love having, I have a lot of decks with this case. I really love it. It's just, you can just throw it in your bag, and so with the YKK zipper. So the guidebook, excuse me, just basically, like I said, describes the essence and the shadow, and it's an alphabetical order minus, I put the muses. So after those cards, I basically, everything's in alphabetical order, but the back I put the muses and the Annals and Alchemy in the very back, because I didn't want to put them in alphabetical order, because I wanted to put them in the order of the process, the procedural, the alchemical procedure, and then the muses, so that there's like an introduction, a small introduction to the muses. So I wanted to put them kind of together, but all the rest of the archetypes are in alphabetical order, since they, you probably noticed this by now, that they are not numbered. The cards, none of the cards are numbered. So, and then at the beginning, I have how to use the cards, and there's a couple spreads in there, and then an introduction about the work, the archetypal work that I use in the cards. So I hope that helps kind of introduce the Divine Muses Oracle. And if you have any questions, please comment. I generally respond to my YouTube comments, and I will be at the Northwest Tarot Symposium this weekend. Friday will be the official release of this deck at Newt's, and if you are attending the workshops, then it is open to you on Friday. If you're not attending the workshops, then Saturday and Sunday in Portland at the Monarch Hotel, the vending area is open to the public, and it's free to come and browse. And there'll be crystal vendors, and there's tarot readers, and there's a woman who makes these amazing tarot bags, and I will be there. So if you happen to be in the Portland area, come say hi to the Divine Muses booth. The official online release will be March 4th. So you'll just have to go to divinemuses.net, and I am going to ship this worldwide. So unless you, if you have any issues with import, just contact me first before sending site. I know there's a couple countries that have issues with shipping, but I'm keeping this open to ship worldwide. So thank you for hanging out and checking out my new deck. And I wish you well and many blessings. Thank you. Bye.